fellow Toastmasters, when I was growing up, I was a fan of comic books. And not just any comic. There was one particular comic of which I was a very big fan. I had all the titles. I had a big collection with every title, and there were about 20 in all, some of them even in more than one language. And that comic is called Tintin. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Tintin, let me show you something. This is a typical cover of a Tintin comic book. This happens to be on a wood board with a lacquered design, which I bought when I was traveling in Vietnam a few years ago. Apparently it's pretty big down there. So this shows Tintin. This is kind of the star of this comic book. His trusty dog, Snowy. And this title happens to be in French. Does anybody know what this means in English?
Black Island.
The Black Island, that's right. So this is one of the titles in the Tintin series, The Black Island. Now, Tintin is a comic that was invented by a Belgian writer named Hergé. And the first Tintin to appear in print was in 1929. Tintin is maybe not so well known here in the US, but worldwide it was hugely popular, and it sold about something like more than 200 million copies. So as I was growing up, this Tintin comic really made a big impression on me, and I admit that even today as an adult, I find it entertaining to pick up a Tintin comic and read through it. So what is so great about Tintin? What's the appeal? Well, to begin with, the stories are really great. They run a range from adventure stories, like kind of swashbuckling Indiana Jones style adventures. Some of it is mystery or political thrillers, comedy. Let me just show you a few of the classic issues here. So this is Flight 714, and this issue features a kind of a situation where Tintin is riding on a jet plane, and it's sort of diverted to this tropical island, and there's a rivalry between two billionaires who are both on this island. There's a mysterious temple which just might involve aliens from outer space. Here's another one, The Calculus Affair, which features Professor Calculus, who's one of the recurring characters. And in this one, Professor Calculus is kidnapped by the nation of Borduria because he was developing this secret weapon which they want to take. So of course Tintin has to go and rescue him. This is another popular one, the Castafiore Emerald, and it's about an opera singer, Bianca Castafiore, and it's kind of a light-hearted mystery because her big famous emerald is stolen, and Tintin has to help solve this mystery. Here we are on the moon in this issue, Explorers on the Moon. Notice that Snowy gets his own spacesuit. I think that's a nice touch. And this one here, Tintin in Tibet, is one of my favorites. Tintin goes to Tibet to rescue a friend of his who kind of disappeared, and at one point is a captive of the Yeti, the abominable snowman.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty fun stories. The characters are also great, and at this point I would like to ask my assistant, Elizabeth, to distribute a...
Could you pronounce my last name?
No.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there. The characters, so of course the main character, Tintin, he's the boy reporter. And you know, when I was growing up reading Tintin, I didn't really think about that much. But so he's a boy and he's a reporter. We never really see him interviewing people or communicating with his office. He's simply a reporter, and he just seems to kind of have adventures all around the world. Of course, there's his trusty dog, Snowy. There's Captain Haddock. Now, Captain Haddock is a great character. And I want you to look at this at the front of this handout here. And I'm going to kind of walk you through this. So this is Captain Haddock. And the setting here is he's up in the Himalayas, and they're kind of tracking the Yeti, the abominable snowman. And the Yeti has apparently made off with the captain's whiskey. So he's saying here, billions of bilious blue blistering barnacles. And this is like one of his catchphrases, billions of blistering barnacles. He says that a lot throughout the whole series. My bottle of whiskey, empty. And then he expresses his annoyance. And if you look at the lower left frame there, look at the kind of language that Captain Haddock uses. It's really imaginative. He says, my whiskey, you Cro-Magnon, you Mameluke, vampire, dipsomaniac, body snatcher, you odd-toed ungulate. Now, I don't even know what some of these words mean. I certainly didn't as a kid. But this is one of the fun things about the comic. Now, take a look at the next page. The artwork is also really fantastic by Hergé. This is also a frame from Tintin in Tibet. Tintin is he's having a dream where he sees his friend, whose name is Chang, and he wakes up by yelling this guy's name. But just look at all the detail in that frame. It's really wonderful. It's got Tintin, Captain Haddock in the middle. There's Professor Calculus right here, kind of near Snowy, kind of sitting serenely in the middle of everything. And then turn to the next page. And it's funny how in your childhood, in your formative years, things you encounter can really have a kind of lasting impression on you, stay with you for your whole life. And in this scene, Captain Haddock is, he gets a rose kind of thrown in his face by the opera singer, and there's a bee there, stings his nose, and it swells up enormously. And I have to admit that when I go on walks with Elizabeth, and she loves to smell the roses. Whenever she does that, I just get this image in my head of my nose swelling up hugely.
And he always goes like...
And I check the rose very carefully to make sure there's not a bee in there.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Tintin has really stayed with me. It really had an influence. So next year, a lot of people are probably going to hear a lot more about Tintin because Steven Spielberg is shooting a movie based on Tintin, which will be released next year. I'm really looking forward to it, and I think you should be too.